Okay, we've called the meeting to order on September 20th, 2023. In front of us, we have the director's decision, the violation resumes, warning letters, and inactive status letters. Has everyone received a copy of those as part of this meeting today?
Yes.
Do we have a motion on the director's decision, violation resumes, warning letters, and inactive status letters?
I'll make a motion to approve the director's decision, violation resume, warning letters, and inactive status letters.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we look at setting the meeting for next month?
Yeah.
I cannot make our traditional time on the 18th that we'd be doing it, but if everyone else can do that, that's fine.
I can't make it either.
What about the week before the 11th?
And I'll be gone those 2 weeks for Disney World, so maybe right for me.
25th? What time do you say?
The 25th would be the time I can do it.
It's going to have to be after, because I've got, I'm like him. I got 2 weeks, but they're in Africa.
Can you do the 25th, Steve?
No cell service.
I think so.
Susan, does that work for you?
I have a conflicting board meeting, but let me see what I can do.
Okay.
I'm good. All three have no lives.
I feel like last year you had a lot of traveling.
Yeah, I'm either side of that day all 3 weeks.
Okay. So let's tentatively say the 25th, and Susan, if it doesn't work out, we'll see if.
Great. That works. Yeah. What about if we have a hearing? Chip, you mentioned marijuana. Possibly, but it's fine. That'll work for us. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we will tentatively be planning on the 25th. At this point in time, I think we can move forward to our, looks like our one case of the day. Miss Desiree Torres at Roosters Downtown at 801 Garrison Avenue in Fort Smith. Private Club Class B beer on premise, appeal of violation order on June 21st, 2023, fine $2,000, 14-day suspension, furnished alcohol to an intoxicated person, and failure to be a good neighbor. Do we have anyone here from, does Ms. Torres or anyone representing her here today?
I don't believe anybody's here on that. Ms. Torres did contact the director this morning to verify the location and the time. Speaking to Agent Brooks, who came from that way, there was a big traffic jam in Conway, so she may be on her way.
Okay, and it does say 9:15 on here. Do we want to maybe recess for 10 minutes and see if she shows up? And if not, we'll decide if we want to proceed at that point.
Good.
Okay, we are recessing for 10 minutes.
Hello.
Yeah, the bill for my car is going to be $1,900.
What did they do?
They haven't done it yet. So I told them, hold on, let me call my dad.
What,
But the oil, something to do with the coolant or a house, the filter house, something.
We've been on delay because the people that's supposed to. Here you go.
Okay, Jamie, or not Jamie, Steve, we are, the permittees just arrived, so we're gonna call the meeting back to order. Good for you.
Okay.
Okay, all right, at this point, we will call the meeting back to order. Our next item on the agenda is Ms. Desiree Torres, Roosters Downtown, located at 801 Garrison Avenue, Fort Smith. Private club Class B beer on premise. Appeal of violation order of June 21st, 2023. Fine $2,000, 14-day suspension, furnished alcohol to an intoxicated person, and failure to be a good neighbor. Ms. Torres,
Yes.
if you'd like to come forward, please take a seat. Do you have anyone else that will be giving testimony today besides
Yes,
yourself?
I have
Three others besides yourself?
Yes.
So you have one more coming?
Yes.
One for,
Oh.
I don't know.
It is-
I don't know.
Okay. All right, so when your other person comes here, we'll swear them in. If anyone plans to be giving testimony today, if you could please raise your right hand for me. Ms. White on the phone, you could as well. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I
Okay, thank you. Agency would like to start their case at this point. They'll be giving their side first, and then they'll be given an opportunity for you to give your side as well.
I'd like to call Agent Doug Brooks. Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Doug Brooks.
Agent Brooks, are you employed by ABC as an enforcement agent?
Yes, sir, I am.
As part of your duties as agent, you investigated alleged violations of ABC rules.
I do.
On or about September 28th, 2022, did you investigate an incident involving Roosters downtown in Fort Smith?
Yes, sir, I did.
And will you tell the board about your investigation and subsequent findings?
Yes, sir. On September 28th, I was notified by the Fort Smith Police Department there had been an accident in the area of 19th and Rogers. 19th and Rogers is approximately 11 blocks to the east of Roosters. I discovered that Miss Audrey Hicks, a 20-year-old female, had been ran over by a box truck at the intersection. Miss Nix apparently after she left Roosters, traveled to that location, got in a vehicle, went around to the driver's side of the box truck, was knocking on the door, startled the box truck driver. Basically, he hit the accelerator and ran over her lower half of her body with the dual rear tires of the box truck. Miss Nix subsequently spent time in a coma and in the intensive care unit there at Fort Smith. I believe she was airlifted to another hospital. On October 3rd, I made a request to Hector Torres. Mr. Torres and Ms. Torres are the owners of Roosters. I asked if they could retrieve their video surveillance from the early morning hours of September 28th. More specifically, I was trying to get to where I could see when Ms. Nix arrived and what happened during the time she was there until when she left. So we watched that video that day while I was there, but we were having difficulty getting it onto a thumb drive. So I left my thumb drive with them and asked them during the period of time if they could get somebody there to download that video onto the thumb drive. As time went on, I made contact with Miss Christy Feather several times. Christy is the manager there at Roosters. They were still having difficulty until finally on November 18th, I arrived and Miss Feathers apologized and told me the video was no longer available on storage device because it had been too long and it had been overwritten. When I watched the video, I was able to identify Miss Nix by several different ways. Heaven White, who is one of our witnesses today, she told me what Miss Nix was wearing, so I identified Miss Nix as she came in. I was able to pull where she arrived on the scanner, so they scanned her ID to show when she was arriving in, and I apologize. Those were the two ways that I discovered who she was. When I was watching the video, I saw Miss Nix on several different occasions carrying around mixed drinks. She served several mixed drinks. She was going from patron to patron in the bar, dancing. She would wrap her arms around different patrons, just kind of randomly as she went through the bar. Rooster's Bar has a downstairs area. There's a pool table downstairs. So at some point, Miss Nix makes her way downstairs. I watch her go downstairs. There's several gentlemen there playing pool. She walks up to one of them and actually grabs his beer out of his hand. By his reaction, you can kind of tell that he was not prepared for that, and it almost appeared that he just didn't know. He looks at his friends and gives them this kind of gesture with his hands out, kind of surprised what just happened. She starts drinking that drink, if I remember correctly. At one point, she sits up on top of the pool table. She sits up on top of the pool table, lays back, and starts making, I guess, what you would call snow angels, running her arms up and down like this on the pool table. At some point, she gets back with Heaven, and this is getting close to 4:10, 4:15 in the morning. They walk out the front door, and from that point, they travel. They both get in the car at some point, which I'll let Miss White describe. Miss White's nervous. She gets out of the car because of Miss Nix's level of intoxication. Miss Nix drives to the point of 19th Beverage where she gets out and is ultimately ran over by the box truck. I was able to go back and speak with Miss White. I was able to speak with Miss Nix. About the only thing Miss Nix could really tell me about that night is she felt like she was intoxicated when she arrived. She said she remembered being at Roosters, but she couldn't remember a whole lot of what happened. And she absolutely cannot remember the accident or just prior to the accident. I was able to glean several through Miss White's help and Miss Nix's help from where they were before. And we have a timeline. They were at several different bars prior to arriving at Roosters. And I'll go over the timeline also. Talking to the Portsmouth Police Department, they were able to get a subpoena for Miss Nix's blood alcohol, and it was 0.17. So she was a little over twice the legal limit on her blood alcohol.
What time did she arrive at Roosters? And to clarify, you said she left at 4?
Yes, sir.
What time does that permit fees?
So it's a 5 a.m. permit. It's a Class B permit.
Okay.
So it is a 5 a.m. permit. Miss Nix was scanned into Roosters around 1:51 a.m. And I believe I took a picture of the scanner where it shows where she was scanned in. She leaves 4:15-ish, somewhere there. Again, that came from watching the video and with the statements. I wasn't able to get the video on the thumb drive, so I wasn't able to actually bring it.
Best of your knowledge from the video, how many drinks do you feel like she was actually served there?
We actually have the receipts. I can tell you if you give me just a second, sir.
Okay.
I think there's 3 on the second to last page with the research receipt.
Okay.
Yes, it looks like there was 3 at Roosters. There were 2 at Heroes, and there was 1 at Tipsy's, which they went to Heroes and Tipsy's prior to arriving.
You can proceed, sorry, no.
Oh, no, sir, that's,
You said you had a timeline?
yes, sir. There is a timeline. So Audrey and Heather, they go out about 10:30 that evening. And I believe Miss Nix is the one that actually picked Heather up at her home about 10:30. From the time they picked him up, they went to a place in Fort Smith called Lost Beach. Lost Beach wouldn't accept Miss White's ID, so they left there, and that's when they headed downtown. Tipsy's and Heroes, they're within just a few blocks of Roosters, probably 3 or 4 blocks. Tipsy's and Heroes actually share a wall, so they're right next to each other. The Roosters is a little bit further down here. So
I'm sorry, when you were saying that other establishment didn't accept her ID, is Miss Nick underage?
no, ma'am, they were not underage. They just, I think that I was never able to talk to actually who looked at the ID, but if I were guessing, Miss White had just, I believe she had just turned 21, and Miss Nix had also just turned 21. And I think just them looking at the ID, they were a little apprehensive about accepting it. So 11:56 or 10:30 they picked up. They went to Lost Beach. We know they were at Tipsy's around 11:56. They were at Heroes up till 1:50, 1:30, 1:40, somewhere there, because they arrived at Roosters at 1:51, and they were at Roosters from 1:51 until the 4:15-ish time.
Okay. Do you have any further questions?
Just a few.
Yeah.
Agent Brooks, the permit holder is Desiree Torres, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And do you know when she took over as permit holder?
I believe they took over the establishment somewhere around January of 2022.
Okay. And when they took over in January of 22, or after they took over, were there any incidents prior to the one that we're discussing today?
Yes, sir. In April, there was a fatality accident that also resulted in 3 violations. The gentleman was at their establishment, left the establishment, drove down south in Fort Smith, and on the south side of Fort Smith on 271, struck a gentleman.
And do you recall what the charges or what the violations were that came with that?
Stealth to an intoxicated person, failure to be a good neighbor.
Those same as today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then just to clarify the timeline a little bit, Ms. Nix and Ms. White left at about 10:30, left Ms. White's home at about 10:30. They went first to which club?
That was Lost Beach.
And then they didn't get in.
No, sir.
And so where did they go to next?
From Lost Beach, I believe they went to Hero or Tipsy's.
Okay. And there is a receipt that shows that they went and at least Ms. Nix paid for something at Tipsy's.
Yes, sir. The receipts, they show how much the receipt was, but it doesn't specifically show what they purchased. The receipt at Tipsy's was for $10.80.
Okay. And that was around midnight, 11:55.
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. And so they left Tipsy's at some point and they went next door to Heroes, is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And there are 2 receipts that we're going to put into evidence. That do you recall the times of those receipts?
The first was at approximately 12:03 a.m. The second was around 1:20 a.m.
Okay. And then sometime shortly thereafter, the 1:20 a.m. transaction, they left and went to Roosters.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And what time was Audrey scanned in?
At 1:51 a.m.
And then how many receipts did Roosters provide?
I believe 3, sir.
Okay. And at some point they left Roosters.
Yes, sir. That was around 4:15 a.m.
Okay. And got the car and drove away. How far did they get before the accident occurred?
Heaven was in the car with her. She tried to talk Audrey out of driving. She tried to get her keys from her. So they end up in the car together. They start off. Heaven is getting nervous. She's begging Audrey to let her out of the vehicle. Eventually, Audrey stops. Heaven gets out of the vehicle, and Audrey travels on to 19th and Rogers. Heaven continues walking down that direction and eventually comes across the accident scene. She sees Audrey laying in the road. There's several gentlemen around, standing around.
Do you know about the time the accident occurred?
Around 4:30.
Does the board have any further questions of Agent Brooks?
I don't believe so. Okay, yeah. Ms. Torres, do you have any questions for the agent?
I don't know. Matt,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you came in a little bit. Would you mind raising your right hand for me? Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, yeah, please take a seat. And what's your name? Hector?
yeah,
Okay. Hector, what's your last name?
Torres.
Hector Torres.
Yes.
Okay. Please proceed.
Well, so the violation is failure to be a good neighbor, right? Yes. I think that's one. At the end of that night, if I'm not mistaken, I think we talked about before, Colton, which is the head of security there, he always makes sure everybody to leave the building have a ride home, call somebody or something. I think he did that with her. If I'm not mistaken, that happened. So she, Miss Nick was riding with the other lady.
No, Miss Nix was driving.
She was driving. Before that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we thought, well, that's what we heard from her. Her friend was driving. That wasn't the case. Something happened between that, I guess. Well, anyway, so, I'm sorry. Questions? No questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have an opportunity at the end to kind of give a statement. This is just, you have an opportunity to give, ask some questions or, get any further details from them. And then they finish their side and you have an opportunity to present a case on your side.
So the question is, when I got to if, since we provide, we ask her, Ms. Nix, to, if she has to say it right, and her friend was writing, is that part of failure to be a good neighbor? Because, we thought at that point that she was writing for somebody else. That's what we heard from them, from her. That's one question, if
Yeah, I came up with the failure to be a good neighbor for the totality of the circumstances. You had a young lady that was intoxicated, that I felt she was intoxicated at the bar. We know she left. She was intoxicated. She drove. When she left, she ultimately got ran over by a box truck. That's how I feel. Yeah,
that's okay.
Okay. And I think at this point, we don't have any further questions for you. If you have, if you want to bring forward your next witness, I'd like to call it. Okay. She's on Zoom. Ms. White, can you hear us? Ms. White, can you hear us okay? It looks like you're on mute. Try to click on she muted herself. Yeah. Ms. White, it looks like you muted yourself. You might need to turn the mute.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. White, would you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Heaven White.
And Ms. White, my name is Aaron Lowry. I'm the attorney for ABC. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the night of September 27th into the morning of September 28th. Okay?
Okay.
Were you with Audrey that night, September 27th?
Yes.
And do you recall what time y'all got together?
I'm sorry. Can you please say that one more time?
Do you recall what time it was that y'all got together?
I would say like around 9 to 10:30. I really.
Okay. And where did you go to?
So yes, first we did go to Lost Beach. It was not too far from where I lived, so we kind of just figured that we would go there. And then we did go inside, but the bartender there did not take my my ID. And so we ended up leaving.
Okay. And when you left Lost Beach, where did you go to next?
Yes. So from there, we did go to Tipsy's first.
And while you were at Tipsy's, did Audrey have any alcoholic beverage to drink?
Yes.
Do you remember how much she had to drink?
We both had one drink there.
And do you know what type of drink it was? Was it beer or spirits, mixed drink?
It was a mixed drink. I can't remember what she ordered, but I think I ordered a pink margarita, and so I assume she could have had the same, but I'm not for sure.
Okay. And at some point, y'all left Tipsy's, is that right?
Yes.
And where did you go to next?
And then from Tipsy's, we went to Heroes.
Okay. And while you were at Heroes, do you recall if Audrey had anything to drink at Heroes?
Yes. I believe she did have around 2 drinks there.
Okay. And were they the same mixed type drinks, or was it a beer?
Yeah, we ordered mixed drinks the whole night. We didn't order really anything else from that.
Okay. And you left Heroes together, and where did you go to next?
So from Heroes, we did go to Roosters. And then we stayed at Roosters for the remainder of the night.
Okay. And while at Roosters, do you recall how many drinks Audrey had at Roosters?
To be honest, I can't really tell you an exact amount. I'm just going based on what I had, because we were not far from drinks, at least whenever I was with her. I had around maybe 4 or 5 drinks, I believe. And there was also a time where I was not with her. And so during that time, I'm not sure if she had more drinks than what I had, but I would say around maybe 4 drinks.
Okay. But you weren't with her the entire time that y'all were at Roosters, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the most part.
When you got to Roosters, do you feel that Audrey was intoxicated?
Yeah, I would say that she was intoxicated when we reached Roosters. Sorry.
And what was she doing to make you think that she was intoxicated?
We were dancing. I mean, it wasn't like an intoxicated where I was concerned. It was just, the same, I guess, how do I say it? I guess the same level that I was on. Like, we were just dancing, we were having fun. She was slurring her words a little bit.
Okay. And at some point, towards the end of the evening, was Audrey cut off by the bartender?
Not that I recall. I don't remember her getting cut off.
Were you?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. And so sometime around 4:15, you both decided to leave Roosters. Is that right?
Yes.
And tell us about what happened when it was time to go. What type of things did Audrey do?
Well, by this time, whenever it was apparent in Roosters, because, I started to realize that she was going around from, different people. And I used to hang out with her a couple of years ago in high school, but I've never really known her to just go around and just dance on strangers like that. And so that was like, okay. And then she appeared to be drooling in Roosters. So I was like, okay. So, I was just trying to give her waters. And so I was like, okay, well, it's time to go, because Roosters was about to close. They closed at 5, I believe. And so we started walking to the car, and I was trying to make sure that she was getting to the car safe. She started sitting on the ground on the sidewalk in the street. And so I kind of had to try to pick her up. And then she ended up just running before me. And she sat in the driver's side of her car. and I was in the passenger side. And we were just sitting there for a minute. I was just trying to, one, either wait there until I was able to drive, or two, I was also calling my mom. I was calling people that I thought that maybe could pick me up. My boyfriend at the time said that he was going to stay up to come and get us, but he ended up falling asleep. So I was just trying to get in contact with somebody. Nobody answered. And then from there, I don't remember how the conversation started or what brought me to kind of tell her, Audrey, like, we can't leave here. You can't leave this spot. You cannot drive right now. And she just, her car's a push start. And so her keys can just be in the car, and, the car can just start like that. But she ended up just saying, watch this. And she ended up just pressing the button, and she sped off. Then I was screaming at her. I was really scared. I can't remember. I can't tell you how fast she was going, but, it was over the limit for sure. And then, at some point she did drop me off. I think it was around the statue on Garrison Avenue. But she had stopped the car, and, I got out of the car. And so I kind of just looked at her, and I was like, Audrey, at least, please get out of the car. Please do not drive. And she didn't even look at me, and she just sped off without me. And, she left me on the side of the road. I couldn't buy an Uber because I left my wallet in the car. And so at this time, I just kind of came to the realization that I was just going to have to walk home. And so I just started walking down the street. No more than, 10, 15 minutes. And then I had come up to what had happened. And by the time that I had already gotten there, Audrey was already on the ground, and the police had already been called.
When you left Roosters around 4:15, I believe is what you said, did you observe Audrey having anything to drink after she left the club?
No, we left Roosters and went straight to the car.
And was there any alcohol in her car that you're aware of?
No, there's no alcohol in the car that I'm aware of.
Yeah. And just to clarify, I think you said this, but I just want to be sure. From the time that you left Audrey's car until you saw the accident, about how much time passed?
Like I said, whenever I had gotten out of the car, I kind of stood there for a second in shock. I couldn't believe that she would just leave me on the side of the road like that. Maybe 2-3 minutes passed, and then that's whenever I started walking. So, to be honest, I would say maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I really don't know.
Okay.
It was a few blocks. So.
Thank you, Ms. White. I don't have any other further questions. Does the board have any questions for Ms. White?
Ms. White, I have one question for you. When you walked out of the Roosters establishment, there was a little bit of testimony given just before this with the previous witness that someone with the permittee's operation tried to help to find safe travel for people home. Was there anyone that spoke to you about trying to get you all a safe ride home? Was there anyone outside that you recall that was part of the establishment that saw her sitting on the floor, you trying to carry her to the vehicle? Do you recall anyone else that was, outside that saw any of this?
No, nobody asked us if we needed a ride or if we needed help. I wasn't really focused on anybody but Audrey. I was just trying to make sure that she would, get into where we needed to go safely. So if somebody maybe, for whatever reason, if I didn't hear anybody, behind me, so if somebody ever offered, they didn't really make a strong attempt. So.
Okay. But to the best of your recollection, there wasn't anyone outside that was monitoring what was going on or laid eyes on people leaving or anyone made a significant attempt to contact you?
No.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
And Ms. White, following on that, did you make any attempts, did you or Ms. Nix make any attempts to seek support from the permit holders, and were they helpful?
We walked out of Roosters. I mean, there was nobody that stopped us. There was nobody that, talked to us. No, not really.
Okay.
And at any point in the evening, did anyone from Roosters check in with you all to make sure you or your friend were okay, seeing that she was dancing on the bar or on a pool table and that sort of thing?
No.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, at this point, Ms. Torres, if you have any questions for the witness? Okay. Are we good with Ms. White?
We're good with this one.
Ms. White, I don't think we have any further questions, but if you could, would like to stay on for now? Sure. If you wouldn't mind staying on, in case there's any follow-up questions that do come up, but at this point, I think we're good with your testimony. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like to call Ms. Desiree Torres. Okay, just a few questions for her. Ms. Torres, will you please state your name for the record?
Desiree Torres,
And could you spell your last name?
Torres.
And you are the co-owner and permit holder for Roosters Downtown, is that correct?
Yes.
When did you take over?
January 2022.
And I believe that you heard the two allegations that were brought up today, sales to an intoxicated person. Are you disputing that charge this morning?
Yeah.
Do you think that she wasn't intoxicated when she was served at Roosters?
I don't believe they thought she was intoxicated when she walked in.
Okay. At some point in the night, do you believe that she was intoxicated?
I personally can't say for sure because I'm not there. Wow.
Okay.
More of the paper.
Okay. The second charge we're looking at today is the failure to be a good neighbor, part of which requires your bar to operate your business in a manner which does not endanger the public health, welfare, and safety. Do you believe that Roosters operated in a way that did not endanger the public health, welfare, and safety that evening?
I do believe that our security guy did ask them if they had a ride home before they left.
Okay. What are you asking the board to do today?
But we're just trying to maybe lower the time
Fines.
and the suspension.
Okay.
Well,
And a lot of people can't really be out of work for that long of a time.
Okay. I have no further questions. Does the board have any questions as far as
on that.
Ms. Torres, you said that you are the permittee of this premise.
Yeah.
But you said you don't regularly.
I go regularly, just closer to closing time.
Closer to 5 a.m.
Yes. Like I'll be at Tipsy's first and then I'll go to Roosters.
And what's your relationship to Tipsy's?
I'm the permit holder there also.
Okay. Are you a owner in both establishments?
Yes.
Okay. Are you an owner in any other establishments?
Yes.
What other establishments?
Well, not owner,
Or a permit to you?
or we're trying to get a permit in Oklahoma
Okay, but in the state of Arkansas, those are the two that you have. Were you at Tipsy's the night of this incident?
Tuesday night. Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday, I was there.
Probably, yes.
Okay, so it's fair to say that this next might have been overserved at 2 establishments.
No, she only had one drink at Tuesdays.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any further questions.
What are your hours of operation in both establishments?
Gypsies, we open at 3 p.m. and close at 2. And at Rooster's, we open at 5, close at 5.
You ever had any violations at Tipsy's?
I believe the same one
Oh,
from
I would have to look.
it was one, it was the same one from the guy the last year. They failed, yeah, because he was the guy who passed on the accident. He was on several bars, and Tipsy's was one of them. So we got fined because we served him. If I'm not mistaken, it was multiple bars. He got fined, not just Tipsy's.
Ms. Torres, you've in one establishment, you have someone has passed away as part of being at that night. Not that it was the entire cause of it, but obviously something that was part of it. And the lady's been run over by a box truck. One of those by itself is kind of jumps off the page of something we don't normally see here.
Yeah.
2 is definitely cause for concern of us. We are here to protect the public above all else. From these incidents, what has been changed? Because I believe this latest one was almost about a year ago at this point. What changes have you made at both premises to better protect the public and yourselves for that matter?
We try to call people taxis and Ubers whenever we know that they can't drive, or sometimes we even take them ourselves. You know, to get the people out of there.
Have you done
We cut
additional?
them off. And bartenders believe they don't need to have any more.
Do you have any training that you put your bartenders through to look for, serving safe patrons? Has there been any training offered?
We've had meetings after both incidents with our staff, bartenders and security.
Would you say, and keep in mind you're under oath here, that you have seen an increase in people being cut off at your establishments or being reduced on serving?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
We have a copy of the original. We'll have a copy of it.
Don't have a copy of the citation that was given to me. Do have the results of the hearing. Just have one copy. Thought that's
You understand that by law, you're not necessarily obligated to find them a ride. I appreciate you doing that, but by law, you are obligated not to serve them to the point they're intoxicated and need a ride. That is what the law states. That's part of the problem here. There are very few 5 a.m. permits left in the state. I think in the 6 years I've been on this board, I've seen almost every one of them for something similar to this. There's a reason. 5 a.m. is a problem. Between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. is a big issue. There are no more permits issued at 5 a.m. There's a reason. And closing them down, every time something like this happens. It's a problem.
I believe in personal responsibility, so a patron should be able to manage their alcohol intake. However, the law does state that you, as a permit holder, are held to a high duty of care to ensure public safety and to ensure that those beverages are sold in a manner that ensures public safety. And when these women left close to closing, how many patrons do you have in your establishment around that time? A dozen? I mean, is it pretty easy?
A little bit more than that, because I was there that night.
Okay.
I was actually serving that night and checking, because she was the other establishment I was there. And it was a little bit more than that, about a dozen at that point. Because we do, even we have the 5 a.m. permit, we do last call at 4:30-ish, something. But which is 4:30, that way it gives us a little bit of time of make sure everybody, called the ride or something. In this case, an Uber, because Uber take 10, 15 minutes to get there. Taxi will take 20, 30 minutes. So Colton here, he's the one who always, do last call, let them know, walks around, go downstairs to the pool tables, let them know that we're about to close. Get, last round, whatever, 4:40, I'm gonna say 4:40, 4:45, everybody starts kind of heading out. We never really closer to 5 a.m. because it's kind of hard for us to, get everybody out and keep the tables clean with no alcohol on them. So we always do like half an hour. That's what we try. And we've been doing that since we opened. And now, especially now, right now, we try to be careful now. Colton is more aware of everybody to make sure he let the bartenders know when somebody needs to cut off. Sometimes the bartender, there's one girl serving so many people, sometimes they can tell where they're going after that point or whatever. He walks around and he sees somebody already kind of at the point. He's the one who makes the calls and say, you know what, don't serve them. We've been doing that after the first accident, matter of fact, this one. But after the first accident, we're really careful on that, trying to watch over the people that are right there. And they try to be careful with us. Do better, I guess. Right.
Any further questions? I guess, at this point, thank you, Ms. Torres. Do we have anyone else?
No further witnesses. I would like to introduce a copy of the director's decision that was just passed out, as well as the copies of the receipts that was previously passed out to board members.
Okay. And how these is Exhibit A?
Yes, sir. We would want cumulative exhibit, all this exhibit A.
Okay. Granted. At this point, would we like to hand it over to Ms. Torres? Do you have anything, any witnesses you'd like to call?
Do you want to do something with this?
Colton Bland.
Okay.
My name's Colton Bland. I work the door normally five nights through the week, sometimes a little less. I'm there pretty often. I've been bouncing for almost 9 years now. I do recall a night, a few things about the night that I very distinctly recall. I remember I'd sit at the front door that night. The last time we spoke with Doug, he'd been very stern about making sure that somebody's very close to the front door, that our exits are checkpoint stop. So I remember being close to the front door. I remember hearing Miss Nix getting loud when she was there. There were a few other people that had their Miss Nix at the bar at the time, and they were close to the opening of the bar where the bartender would walk in and out. So right there at the corner behind my back, I remember hearing them get loud, and I remember walking over there. Now, at the time, I did not have an idea of how many drinks she had had, but I could tell by her drinking that she could be cut. I remember saying something to her directly, saying, "Hey, you don't need to drink anymore. Kitchen stays open until 4." And generally, that's what I tell somebody when they're cut off. I try to throw that out there to make sure, you got time to get sober. There's food till 4 a.m. That at that time was whenever they went downstairs. So I know that one of the drinks that she took from an individual, she took it to the restroom off camera. Beyond that, it's kind of not uncommon for me to see patrons come in and be bubbly, to get loose. That's kind of our job, is to make sure that people can step away from their lifestyle. I never really know what somebody's going through in their life, but it's in our industry to create an environment for somebody to step away from whatever they're going through. And so it's not uncommon for me to see people dancing or to act bubbly or to talk to strangers, because at one time before they went to their phones, they would just come into a bar to talk to strangers. So I think a lot of the behavior that has been mentioned at that time, I didn't believe was a sign of overly intoxication, obviously, by her blood alcohol level. Mrs. Nix was obviously intoxicated, but by judgment of demeanor and character, I did the best I could.
Do you have any questions? Basically, how this hearing will go is you ask any questions that you have, and then there'll be an opportunity for us to have our segment.
I'm sorry, tell me your name again, Colton.
Colton Bland.
And you said that at some point in the evening, you observed Ms. Nix getting loud and you cut her off. Do you know about what time that was?
I believe that to be around 3 a.m.
No further questions.
When you cut her off and said that, you don't need to drink anymore, did you notify the bartending staff that she was cut off?
I do remember mentioning something to them. I went behind the bar and let them know, okay, the one that's going downstairs right now, she's acting a little too bubbly. I'm keeping an eye on that one. She needs water, maybe some food, see what her friends think. I do remember on their way out the door, I asked if they had a safe ride. One of them replied yes. Outside of that, I stayed inside the bar after everyone walked outside. Generally, if somebody leaves the bar, I still have other patrons I've got to get out of the bar that I'm responsible for, and I've got to make sure that there's no drinks leaving that checkpoint. To make sure that they're not carrying alcohol outside. Sometimes I have patrons try to stick a beer bottle in their pocket or something, I've really got to stay vigilant at that checkpoint. So as it being a Tuesday, I was the only security there. So I didn't have much room to go outside, so I never witnessed anything else beyond that point.
You said approximately what time did you cut her off?
Roughly around 3 a.m.
So if she had a credit card receipt at 3:06 a.m. for another drink for $6.50, I assume that we don't see what the itemized amount is, but I assume you don't charge $6.50 for water. So more than likely there was an alcohol beverage after 3 a.m.
Yeah, I believe that would have been roughly around the time that they were up there making their drink order. It was, I guess, 3-something.
So you told her that was her, not that she couldn't have any more, but that was her last drink of the night.
Yeah, she had already made her drink order before I had intervened. Whenever I had heard her getting that, I assume that's after she had received her drink. But yes, I went over and said my piece. Legally, I don't believe I can forcibly take a drink from a patron after they paid for it. So.
Okay, that was just point of clarification I wanted. Any further questions?
No further questions.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Chrissy Feathers. I'm the manager. I wasn't there that night. I watched the video with Doug that night. Whoever he came into his house to get the video. We had watched it together. You say you had 3 credit card receipts, but when we watched the video, I remember seeing 2 drinks being purchased by her and her friend. So I didn't know if maybe she'd given her card to someone else to buy a drink. But when we were watching the video, I just remember seeing two drinks being purchased with her.
The receipts we have the same last four digits on all three transactions, 6473. Peter's, I'm not a handwriting expert, no, pretend to be, but the handwriting appears similar on all three, particularly the A on all three. Without there being a video evidence that for whatever reason was unable to be provided to the enforcement officer, it's hard for us to verify anything with the video evidence. So we have to be relying on, sworn testimony here and the information in front of us. Copies of these receipts.
Right. I was just saying, I just remember the video. I was seeing two of them. So I said she loaned her card to someone else to buy a drink. But that's all I was asking because I remember thinking in the video only two, and it was at the bar when I was at the bar.
Okay. Same signatures, Tipsy and Heroes also.
And there's last few drinks that looks like were purchased in less than 10 minutes of each other. Am I reading that?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
Do you have any other questions for your manager?
No.
David, do you have any questions? Okay. I have one question. What happens, it sounds like our officer asked for a copy of this film.
Yes.
I assume that when an ABC enforcement officer is at your premise, that it's of utmost importance to comply with the request.
Absolutely.
So, and under his sworn testimony, he asked you to get him a copy of that.
I told him I would try to. Yes, that I was familiar with our computer to put on the drive. So whenever my fellow attempts, I failed attempt to do it, I asked him, I said I couldn't do it. So if you have someone more than welcome down there and check it yourself because I couldn't get it.
And I assume did you have to go through this experience? Were you the manager when the gentleman passed away?
Yes.
So was there a request for video back then?
No.
Okay.
No. I was never.
It was, yes.
I never looked at that one.
Where did you get a copy of that?
We used to have a problem at that time to download it for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of all the things that gives me some of the biggest concern that, that video evidence is mysteriously not working, that gives me some concern as far as being cooperative in this situation. Not that that's being brought up as a issue here today, but I'm just saying that for the record. That was my only other question. Steve, do you have any questions on your end?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're going to close on our side at this point. Do you have any other further witnesses?
No.
Okay. As far as you're closing.
Yes, sir. Based on the testimony today, the previous findings in the director's decision, we would ask the board to approve the director's decision and the penalties assigned in that decision.
Ms. Torres, do you have any closing comments you'd like to add?
If they're gonna keep the 14-day suspension, we were gonna see if maybe y'all could break it up and not do it all at one point in time.
Here, the employees that work at Roosters, can they also work at Tipsy's?
No, they do not.
What's the reason for that?
We are at the same time, 30 employees with that bar.
Okay. So your closing statement is you would ask for the suspension to be broken up?
Yeah.
Not run concurrently?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board as Chairman Blackford used to say?
I'll be glad to make a motion. That's okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to?
No.
And for Mr. Torres, you had a question about failure to be a good neighbor while I was used in this. It does say that you have a high duty of care and will operate their business where beverages are sold or dispensed in a manner which is in the public interest and which does not endanger the public health, welfare, or safety. Maybe that helps answer your question as to why that's part of this violation. That's how it's worded. In the case of Beverage, Torres, Rooster downtown, 801 Garrison Avenue, Fort Smith, private club, tax B. They're appealing violation order of June 1, 2023. They were fined $2,000, 14-day suspension for furnishing alcohol to section 3.19, paragraph 4 of the ABC rules. And the violation, that was an intoxicated person, excuse me. And then violation of failure to be a good neighbor is in violation of section 1.79, paragraph 32. I find through the evidence that they are certainly in violation of both of these. This is the second time that the permittee and or owners have been in a violation of these within about an 18-month period, both one failing in a fatality, but this one that we're hearing today, certainly a pretty nasty injury that could have gone much worse. I do not see that they are headed in the right direction with this permit. So my motion is to uphold the director's decision, keep the fine at $2,000, keep the suspension at 14 days to be run. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you all for your time today.
In closing, don't come back. This permit will be gone next time you come back. This is a problem permit. 5 a.m. is way too long to be serving alcohol. That's my suggestion. If I'm still on this board next time you come back, straighten it up, keep people safe. I'm all for business. I'm all for people having a good time. Keep them safe.
And just to clarify, when dates that the suspension is going to take effect?
Immediately.
That's in tomorrow or tonight?
Let's say tomorrow.
And how long do they have to pay the $2,000?
I don't know that we necessarily make that suggestion, but Chip, you're following the past if they've been able to extend that, or
I think the timeframe's never been an issue.
It's
Whether
never
it's
been an
50 days
issue.
or 60 days.
yeah, I say 30 days to pay it.
Do we need an amendment to that motion? Adding that stuff in for the record? Legally?
I don't believe that we do.
Okay.
Shouldn't.
All right, at this point, I'd like to close the meeting. Thank you all for your time.
Yeah.